I was in Lindsay yesterday at my Aunt Sonia's funeral. I told you about her last week. She was in palliative care. She died Sunday night. The funeral was yesterday in Lindsay. My whole family came. My sister flew in from Victoria. She's joining us here this morning. My cousin flew in from Edmonton. We gathered, we hugged, we talked, we grieved. The funeral home was full, and there were lots of us. My particular family ended up sitting in the back foyer where only the people in the middle could see through the doorway, and the rest of us could look at the wall or the ceiling through the doorway. And we could strain to hear what we could hear, what was coming from the front, because they had, well, as we know, tech problems, right? They had a few. So, my Aunt Sonia's two grandsons got up to do her eulogy and read her life story. And even from the foyer, looking at the wall, missing a sentence here or there, my Aunt Sonia's life was captivating. She lived for 96 years. I have known her my entire life, and I thought I knew her. But there was so much more in her life story that I did not know. She was born in 1930. She was the first child of immigrant parents. Her parents thought that after high school she should get married, as a woman in her era did, but she thought she should go to university, and so she got on a train and went to Montreal. There, after she got her degree, she went traveling around Europe. She was away for over a year. She came back, she met my uncle, and then the two of them took a trip across Canada in a car unchaperoned. They got married, they bought a home, they raised a family, they traveled some more. She played bridge, she gardened, she crafted. She was the queen of hospitality. She opened her home, she opened her heart to so many people. She was everyone's special aunt and friend. She knew how to care for people. Her life was full and rich and completely unique. And as I sat in that foyer looking at a wall and listening to her grandsons, I realized that she was so much more than I knew. I had known her my whole life, and yet I had only ever seen a part of the picture of her life. That's true to the people of Isaiah as well. Though their story looks nothing like my Aunt Sonia's story, they had not lived a full and rich life and then died surrounded by family. They had been conquered. They had been dragged into exile, into Babylonia, hundreds of miles from home. Their temple had been destroyed. Their city was in rubble. Everything they had told them about who they were and whose they were was in tatters. And that's who Isaiah is writing to today. People who are desperate and disorientated. They have lost everything. They've been conquered by the Babylonians. The elite have been taken into exile. Those that remain are living under Babylonian rule. Their culture and their customs are being attacked from all sides. And so what do people do when they lose everything? They look back. They remember what it used to be, or at least what they think it used to be, and they listen to the back in my day stories, and oftentimes these stories are told through rose-colored glasses. They tell of the way things used to be, or the way you perceived they used to be. When they had a great nation and a great king, and they speak of the Exodus, when they had been rescued from their bondage and led to the promised land, and the great story of how God parted the sea and led them out of Egypt, the story that made them who they were and whose they were, the story of their journey with God. This is their foundational story. It grounds them. But then Isaiah says, do not remember the former things. Do not consider the things of old. Not because the Exodus wasn't real or important or nation-defining, and certainly not because it didn't matter, but because God said, I'm about to do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? And the holding on to the story is not allowing you to see what is being done right now, to see where God is working now. Do you not perceive it? The new thing is not coming eventually, somewhere down the road. It is already springing up right now. Rivers in the desert, away through the wilderness. God is already moving, and the only thing standing between them and that new thing is their perception that is rooted in the past instead of looking towards this new thing. It's called nostalgia, and it's not wrong. Looking back at what has been good and true and holy, there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a cost to living there. You cannot see what is being made in front of you if your eyes are fixed on what is being or what has already been made behind you. The Exodus is holy ground. The kingdom was at one time great, but God was asking them to lift their eyes from it and look to what was already impossibly springing up right where they stood, because God was not done with them yet. And here we are on this auspicious day, my last Sunday as your preacher. I have been with Southampton for 8 years. 8 years of Sundays and funerals and hospital visits and board meetings and phone calls and conversations at the door. 8 years of watching this community move through things that none of us could have predicted when I arrived on July the 1st, 2018. A lot can happen in 8 years. We started as a 2-point pastoral charge with Mount Hope, and we have some Mount Hope folks here with us today. We began a shared ministry with Paisley 6 months later. Then the United Church of Canada changed its structure in 2019, which I think had a lot more impact than we realized. And then COVID, which had a tremendous impact across all things, where everything changed. And as we figured that out, a year-long pastoral care collaboration with Rockton and Sheffield and Linden, and then a collaboration with Central West Side, and 4 months ago, a new collaboration with Hepworth, Sauble Beach. And today, a change in pastoral relations as I go to serve Almont United Church, and you search for your next minister. And you in Sauble Beach? In 8 years, you have had many changes as well. Tim was your minister in 2018, and you suffered the grief of his death. And then David walked with you until retirement in December. And then I have been blessed for these last 4 months to serve with you. And now you're going forward with Southampton, looking for one minister to fill all 3 of these congregations and churches. And in Sheffield, from the 2-point charge with Rockton just joining us then in Rural Connect 5 years ago, to the year of collaboration with me as your pastoral care minister, to your collaboration with Linden, and now going out on your own and welcoming a new minister in September. And to Linden, so many changes for you as well during these last 8 years. And you will be continuing with Southampton for worship on Rural Connect until you discern what God is calling you to do next as you go forward. Because God is not done with us yet. God was not done with Peter either. Which, if you remember, the backstory is saying something. Peter, just a few days ago, had denied Jesus on the night Jesus was arrested when everything was falling apart. Peter stood outside in a courtyard and 3 times denied that he even knew him. And then a rooster crowed, and Peter realized what happened. And then today, John 21. Here we are after Jesus' death, and Peter and the disciples have returned to fishing. And Jesus comes to them and tells them to put their nets on the other side of the boat, where they catch so many fish that they haul them to the beach, and then they share breakfast together. A charcoal fire, fish, and conversation. And then after the meal is over, Jesus and Peter take a walk down the beach, and Jesus asks him a question. Do you love me? He does not ask Peter to explain himself. He is not asked to defend his denial. He's not asked to look back in the past at his actions or non-actions and account for them. Peter, says Jesus, or actually Simon, says Jesus, his given name, do you love me? 3 times, once for each denial. And each time Peter says, yes, you know that I love you. 3 times he confirms to Jesus that he loves him. And each time Peter says, Jesus gives him something to do. He says, feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. The past does not have the last word. Love does. And then Jesus says, follow me. Just follow me into whatever comes next. And that's where we are this morning, all of us, you and me together on the edge of whatever comes next. We live in a world right now that is anxious and fractured and uncertain. The news is hard to watch. The ground feels less stable than it did. And in times like these, the temptation for all of us, for congregations, for communities, for people, is to look back, to want what is familiar, to wish that things could go back to the way that they were, to make everything great again. But what we've heard this morning, what God is saying to those exiles in Babylonia, that do not remember the former things. And we have watched what Jesus did with Peter on that beach. Follow me, says Jesus, into whatever comes next. God is not done with you yet. And it is love that gets the last word. Follow me into whatever comes next. Jesus did not hand Peter a map. Isaiah did not hand the exiled Hebrews a map. What they got instead was a direction. And we know now, looking back, what that direction led to. The Persian king Cyrus, after he defeated the Babylonians, allowed the Hebrew people to return to Jerusalem, not to rebuild what had been, but to build something new. The temple they rebuilt was not Solomon's temple. The city was not the former city. It was new, built from the ruins of what had been lost into something they could not have imagined in their exile. And for Peter, he became the rock. The church was what he was built on. He and the rest of the disciples found a way to carry Jesus' message forward. And because of that, all 5 of the churches that are worshiping here together this morning, we kind of can trace ourselves back to that very moment on the beach. This is what new things look like. Not restoration, but transformation. And that's what's happening here right now in this room for all of us. I'm about to do a new thing, says God. Do you not perceive it? Not a return to what was, a new thing, something we cannot yet see from where we stand. We are on the edge of this new thing. I have loved being your minister. I have loved walking into the sanctuary and all of the sanctuaries on Sunday mornings. I have loved sitting at your kitchen tables and boardroom tables and your church hall tables and your communion tables. And I have loved standing at your gravesides and your bedsides and in the midst of your life's celebrations. I have loved watching you be the church together, imperfectly, honestly, and faithfully. And now it's time for me to let you go. And time for you to let me go. Not because what we had was not real and not good. It was real and it was very good. But because the God who made a way in the wilderness is already making a way ahead for you and for me. And we will not be able to see it if we are holding too tightly on to each other. You do not need me to be the church. What you need, what we all need, is to lift your eyes and perceive what is already springing forth. A new minister will come who will walk with you into whatever comes next. A new community for me to serve and to love. New things for all of us. But I also need you to know that I carry you with me. Every person, every funeral, every hospital room, every conversation at the door, every moment when I watch God show up into this place and into your lives in ways I did not expect, I will carry it all. And then I want to thank you for 8 years of trust and welcome and honesty and grace, for letting me into your lives, for teaching me things that I did not know I needed to learn, for being, for me, the face of God in this particular corner of the world. I love you, and I will miss you, and I am very, very grateful. And I want you to know that this same God who made a way in the sea, who asked Peter if he loved him, who was already making rivers in the desert, that God goes with you, and that God goes with me. We are not alone. We have never been alone, and we will never, ever be alone. Thanks be to God. Amen.